Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Well, yes, indeed. Still looking ahead of the big day, October 1st, our 59th independence. Well, several issues actually come to bear. So, well, this time, the question of the Constitution. Several conversations about whether or not we need a new one. That restructuring still featuring on the front pages this morning. Do we really need a new one? Well, these are some of the issues we'll be considering this morning. And today, we're joined by Mr. Daniel Bwala. So, yes, he's still a legal practitioner, but he has since moved to the Senate. I beg your pardon. He's the SSA to the Deputy Senate President on Legal and Constitutional Matters. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Well, all of this conversation about whether or not we need to amend our laws, has that perspective changed for you ever since you got into this position?
No, I think it's even emboldened by that fact, except that I disagree with the call for a new constitution. I think people who are clamoring for a new constitution are taking everything out of context, because the grandfather of all democracy, America, they've never had to change their constitution to a new one. But they've always had what they call amendments.
And they're saying the same thing here when they say change, amend. Isn't it almost in the same context?
No. The ones calling for a new constitution are asking that this constitution be jettisoned with. Because they said that if you look at the preamble to the constitution, it says we the people, and their agitation is that it was not the Nigerian people that formed the constitution but the military. But whether military or the people, at the time the constitution was enacted, so to speak, or created, so to speak, the people, quote unquote, were acting as representative of the Nigerian people. Okay. Because during the military era, there was edict, there was decree. Some of the decrees are still functional. Some of them have had to be amended by the National Assembly, and in a few occasions they have had to repeal some of the laws. Courts were established by the military. Department of State Services was established by the military, and then later made an act.
So what are some of the things you discovered as head of a legal team for the 1999 Constitution Review?
Well,
I mean, because you know some people are talking about the Constitution contradicting itself.
In addition to telling us what is the mandate now, because this always happens.
Right. So the Deputy Senate President asked me to come help him head the legal team, because he is passionate about the calls, by the Nigerian people for the amendment of the Constitution. Obviously, anybody who lives in Nigeria and has been in Nigeria for the past 3, 4, 5 years will attest to the fact that there are agitations. And the only way we can move as a nation is we amend our laws to meet with the cutting age. So some people have clamored for example, restructuring. And we still have a problem of proper definition of restructuring. So people have given it a dimension of whether political restructuring, economic restructuring, and some have called for devolution of power, asked for state police, some are asking for resource control, and there are so many other calls. But basically, whichever way you look at it, they are actually saying, in essence, we should tinker with the exclusive legislative list, which confers so much of these powers to the federal government. So when you ask for, so much of it.
But why do people say, look, how many is so much? Do you get more than 5 key things there that you can even actually say, well, okay, maybe we need to look at it. Can be more than 5 or 6.
Right, yes. That's about 6 or 7. But the thing is, even if it is one, the nature of the power that the government has, for example, policing and all security operatives, they are run by the federal government. The idea is so we can maintain the unity of the federation and avoid a situation where a unit of the federation will use it to achieve a purpose that is not consistent with the unity as contemplated by the Nigerian people, especially because we have history, right? But the thing is, if you look at the realities of events, crises, that are coming in multiple levels, and some of which will not require. So if you look at the procedure for law enforcement in Nigeria, you have to get an order from the Commissioner of Police. Commissioner of Police has to get an order from the IG of Police, and then the crisis will not have to wait until the order is given. So all of this is, people are asking for multi-level policing, where you have the policing will be right to the root, and then you deal with it. Then resource control also. A lot of people are calling for resource control.
That's a very key component. But before you talk about resource control, could you talk to us about that devolution of power,
right?
When that failed, I mean, you could see how Nigerians were looking for so much to what was going to happen with that particular bill. So is that part of what your team is going to consider?
Well, as a team, I don't want to preempt so much of what the Deputy Senate President has for the people, because ultimately he is, by the office of the Deputy Senate President, is the chairman of the Constitution Review, but the chairman will also have committee members, and my understanding is that the committee members have not been formed yet. Okay. So they will have to be formed to draw a term of reference. But I know that having interactions with a part of his passion, it's not for him to amend the Constitution. It's to harmonize the views of the Nigerian people. We have strategy for
yeah, but you know,
that.
the last time out that this happened, they said the same thing, the views of the Nigerian people. And then that clause came in, and Nigerians wanted something to be done about it. But it failed because they said, well, it wasn't properly itemized because we didn't understand what it meant. And so many thought that wasn't really tenable to a lot of people.
If you ask for my view, I would think it's engagement. You see, one thing can be said differently.
Engagement between who and who? Engagement
with the people. Now, the assumption at the time is that the Nigerian people have come to the agreement that there was need for devolution of power. For whatever reason, at the National Assembly, it didn't scale through, isn't it? It didn't scale through by their voting or whatever. So the engagement, I mean, is our strategy here. Part of the things I am recommending is these people, before you come to voting, you have to engage them. Our approach is to also engage states, speakers of the House of Representatives instead, because part of the constitutional amendment procedure or process will require their answer. They need to understand what you're talking about. They need to articulate their fears. And one thing good about amendment is there are ways you can tinker with the Constitution. It doesn't have to be A or B. It can be A and B combined in such a way that as you amend the Constitution, there is no section or part of the country that feels disenfranchised or feels left aside.
It will be good to follow that. They follow that up.
He thinks we need an amendment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not a new one.
Not a new. Those calling for new one are calling it out of context.
Okay. We've been joined by Mr. Emmanuel Anene. He's a legal practitioner. Thank you for coming on this morning. Well,
thank you for having me.
This call too about amending the Constitution. Some say a new Constitution. All of those voices out there. What do you think we really need?
Well, what we need is a brand new Constitution. This patch Constitution over the years has not served the interests of generality of Nigerians. Decree number 24, otherwise called 1999 Constitution, was a product of boardroom agreement by Abu Salami Abubakar-led federal military government, which is elitistic in nature and has not served the interests of the generality of common Nigerians like me. For instance, look at Chapter 2 of 1999 Constitution that provided for socio-political economic rights of ordinary Nigerians. They made it not justiciable. You cannot go to court to say government has failed to implement the provisions of Chapter 2 of 1999 Constitution. And it's only that section that serves the interests of ordinary Nigerians. Now, look at Section 84 of 1999 Constitution, Section 5. The president and the vice president is entitled for pension for life. 4 years job or 8 years job maximally. You'll be entitled for pension for life. And the quantum of that pension is in the annual salary of the incumbent. Now, ordinary Nigerians that serve Nigerians for 35 years are begging for their gratuity to be paid. This National Assembly cannot amend our Constitution. Now, There was a time they went to Mina for constitutional retreat. The issue was the issue of who will be the chairman of the constitutional amendment processes. The deputy speaker then, Governor Emeki Hedoha, and the deputy senate president then, Ike Kuremadu. The issue was who will preside. They said they wanted a co-chairman. They said they needed a chairman. And that was why they wasted that opportunity. Now look at what happened during Obasanjo's administration. Because of third tenure, everything was thrown away. Look at the under President Jonathan's administration. Whether president will sign or president will not sign. That's how they wasted. So if you look at the National Assembly and the entire leadership of this country are the beneficiaries of this fraud called 1999. So we need a brand new one.
Yeah, but these issues that you've highlighted,
yes,
if we addressed all of them, why do we still, and because there's so many others in the law, why do we need a new one if these are the only challenges?
It cannot be addressed, somebody. I'm telling you, it cannot be addressed because it is serving the interests of the National Assembly and the leadership of this country, not the interest of Nigeria.
How are we going to amend it?
Now, let me tell you, Section 63 of 1999 Constitution provides that National Assembly shall sit for a period of 181 days in a year. That is less than half of the year. Now, in Section 68 provides that a member loses his seat if he did not sit up to 1/3. That is 60 days. So they will be paid for one.
Okay.
They will pay for 1 year for job done within 60 days or 30 days.
Since he's here, he's heading head of that team to amend the constitution, not give us a new one. How does your committee sieve through views such as this, talking about a brand new constitution?
You know, I've had this engagement with my friend here, with Bwala here sometimes, but he represents a section of the society, and it's their right to express that we need a new one. What they have failed to give is the specifics. For
He's
example,
giving specifics now.
all the things he has mentioned can be amended. It doesn't require a new constitution. Where you call for a new constitution, where, for example, fundamental part of the constitution, such as provision of the constitution, probably exclude a section of the country. They are not part of the national cake. They are not part of the federal character. They are not part of the constitution of the federation. You can say we need a new constitution to integrate them because the constitution is supposed to represent we, the people. But everything he has mentioned, this one is wrong, this one is wrong, they can be amended. Now, I have always asked them, why do you think we need a new constitution? They will call amendments. How are we going to bring about a new constitution? Those things you are expressing as your fears, assuming we are going to bring them to life. Assuming we are going to bring them to life, can't we do it through amendment? He said, no, we cannot do it through amendment except through the new constitution. How are we going to produce the new constitution? They still don't have the specifics.
How we're going to produce a new constitution is very simple. Nigerians must agree first, because the constitution lied against Nigerians that we, the people of Nigeria,
the people who drew that constitution at the time were Nigerians.
No, the people who drew the constitution didn't have a Nigerian mandate. They were military junta. I told you it's a boardroom. It was a boardroom agreement. They sat down. Abu Salami Abubakar and his team sat down in the comfort of their office and wrote constitution for the entire Nigeria. There was no agreement. Listen now, gentlemen. That is decree number 24. That's 1999 constitution. Now,
let me tell you, when you say, because that's not exactly what transpired, because if you go through from even Justice Nikitobi's committee, but okay, let me let you even speak
Let me simply correct that. There has never been a time, except probably Banana Republic, but there has never been a time in Nigeria where this constitution was created, amended, or any part of the constitution brought to bear without the input from a committee who the people who were selected from different parts of the country.
I don't understand what.
So, for example,
just hang on. You're coming.
So, even if it is, assuming, without considering that it was the military that sat in boardroom, which of course is not true, you can see it for yourself. The military constituted a constitution committee. This constitution committee cut across the federation. So, let me give you an example. Professor ABC is from the Southwest. Look at the Presidential Economic Advisory Council.
He has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
We are not fighting.
Don't worry, just hang on. You still speak.
Assuming now, Economic Advisory Council, if you look at the membership, they cut across the geopolitical zones. Assuming they come up with an advice to the government, it is believed that such advice carries about, or such advice integrates not just economic policy for the government, but also representing the interests of the people from the geopolitical zones. That is the reason why A is brought from the Southwest, B is brought from the Niger Delta, and C from the Northeast. Now, this was how the 1999 Constitution was brought to bear. They said their anger is that why should the Constitution, they always use the term that the Constitution lied to the Nigerian people. The Constitution is not a person. Now, they said we the people, and they say where is we the people? At the time the military operated, the government at that time was deemed as military government of the Federation. They had judges, they had law enforcement officers, we had edicts, we had decrees, we had laws, which were executed. If you take away everything, including their executive actions at the time, are you suggesting that a law made by them or an act made by an act executed or by a military administrator or a president is no longer lawful in Nigeria? You see, they are emotional about this. They are simply emotional, and they are separatist in their idea. Okay. But what they do is they come under the sheepskin.
Okay, Mr. Anene, but weren't there committees headed by eminent jurists and legal luminaries in this country who took those draft committee, took the matter, went to Nigerians and brought out materials and said, look, this is what Nigerians actually wanted. But from 63, 79, even this 99, wasn't that the case?
You see sometimes my Anene friends say they are separatists in nature. But let me correct the impression.
Yeah, but before you talk to that separatist
Answer the
matter,
question.
weren't there committees that
The
presided
committee
over
was
this?
set by people who never had the mandate of entire Nigeria.
So in
But
other
they
words,
had the
no,
understanding.
in other words, no one person wrote that document, as some people believe.
Military government sat in their boardroom and wrote constitution for us and imposed it on Nigerians and said, we the Nigerians, see the processes of constitutional provision for any country. The people must first of all agree that we want to give ourselves a constitution.
When you say people must agree,
Yes.
how do you mean people must agree? Because that is what the committee
And that is
said.
what we're saying now. The committee was set up by people who never had the mandate of Nigerians. Now, what we are saying now, I represent that interest, that this constitution given to us by the military is not working. So we need to give ourselves a constitution.
But you know
that
there
is
is
a negotiated settlement by entire Nigerians. Not when you go to Southeast, you appoint somebody that will be amenable to you. You go to Southwest, you appoint somebody that will be amenable to you. You go to Northeast, you appoint somebody, and you say that it is Nigerians that are doing
But
it.
there
That
is-
is not how constitution is being
Okay,
drafted.
all right.
Now, let me
Let's.
say, no. I have a point. He said it's people of a separatist agenda.
No,
It cannot be so. It's misleading. It cannot be. We are calling for a new constitution. National Assembly, as presently consulted, cannot give us one.
But you know what?
No,
You
because-
speak to this one. Speak to this something that he said earlier. That look, the American Constitution, they have never really asked for a new constitution. They have been having amendment upon amendment upon amendment. So how do you react to that one?
each constitutional amendment in American will be substantial or touches on the substance of the lives of the people. What they are doing here is wishy-washy.
Let me help you.
Peripheral amendments. That's why we need a new constitution. Now, at one of the
Are those
constitutional amendments
are those peripheral amendments enforceable or not?
it doesn't touch the substance of the lives of the people.
What
Now-
are the substances that you want touched?
Now, we needed a state police. One of the constitutional amendment processes, what they needed to remove is force from Nigerian police force, because Section 214 said there shall be the Nigerian police force. So the amendment sought was to remove force from it. The amendment did not address the issue of state police that Nigerians are calling for. The amendment is not talking about empowerment of Nigerian police. The amendment is not talking about training and equipping Nigerian police. It just don't need to remove the force from it. That's why I say it's wishy-washy.
Okay.
Now, if you look at, I have a line of thought. Now, the burning issue is resource control. For instance, the federal government, the concern provided for the lands, there is what we call the quid plantata solo shitet. In land law, that anybody who owns the land, anything below it or under it belongs to the person. But 1999 constitution said the minerals belong to the federal government, the land belongs to the state. Now, if you go to Niger Delta, the oil in Niger Delta belongs to Nigerians. If you go to North, people are mining gold, silver, illegally.
Okay,
And
let's-
no kobo.
let-
If you tell Nigerian National Assembly to amend this part of the
Let's
constitution,
you wanted to talk about the resource
Yes.
control the other time.
No,
Can you respond to that?
No, if in fact to help him,
you are not helping. You are helping yourself.
section 4 of the Constitution says the legislative powers of the Federation lies with the National Assembly, consisting of the Senate and the House of Representatives. The lawmakers there were not appointed by the military. They were elected by the people. So you ask him, where is he from? I assume that he's from Enugu, but I'm not sure. Where that constituency where he comes from, somebody was elected to represent the interests of the constituency. And that person visits the place regularly to get the articulation. They also have the power of recall if he's not representing their interests. They can also summon him and tell him they want a new constitution, because he believes that this one is a wishy-washy mechanic constitution. And then that lawmaker representing their constituency will come to the National Assembly during the procedure or the process of bills and lawmaking. He will raise the concern of his people. We are demanding a new constitution. XYZ is the reason we are calling for a new constitution.
Okay, now speak to that issue of the
No, let me
resource
address
control.
this
Sorry,
issue.
no. Before you let him just respond to that one, you wanted to talk about it earlier because that's definitely a very thorny issue.
Right. So from my perspective, for example, by virtue of the role I'm playing, I am precluded from expressing my personal view about it. Because
just calm down, calm down.
But you wanted to talk about
yes. So I want to explain further. What I'm saying is my opinion about resource control now is inconsequential because part of my mandate in helping, because remember it is the National Assembly Committee on Constitutional Reform that are tasked with these responsibilities. My role is to prepare as a legal team under the office of the Deputy Senate President areas of concern. So the resource control is a powerful conversation. We intend, whatever it is the subject of conversation, to engage the people. So there, of course, you know that there is public hearing, there is hearing from interest groups. We receive memoranda from people. There will be committee discussion.
That issue had never been resolved. Even from all the several committees, conferences, that matter has always never been
because
resolved.
some people hold the view that if you look at the intricate nature of Nigeria, you cannot say the entire resource of a particular place rests with the people. Some people are saying rather than going for resource control is look at the derivation formula. Maybe you increased the allocation of the people who are producers of the oil. And the idea is because oil is our major source of revenue, is the cash cow. Assuming we have so many other cash cow avenues, then it will make for a good conversation.
But has it always been like this from the 60s?
It wasn't like this because at the time oil was not discovered. We had agriculture.
But we still have those things. There is no state in Nigeria that does not have tremendous deposits of minerals, and especially solid mineral resources. There is no state in Nigeria. The agriculture that you are talking about, we haven't lost it. We just need to go back to it.
So somebody will tell you, to answer your point, somebody will tell you it's a wonderful development, but it is something that should happen over time, right? You make one amendment, you move to the second amendment, you move to the third one until you can get the resources.
If that crucial amendment, that resource control that you talked about now, if that one were to be amended to favor the different federating units a little more, wouldn't you?
You know that even as it stands now, the federating units that are producers of oil, they get allocation more than other states, right? Okay. They are calling for more. And it's a good conversation.
Okay, let me also add this before both of you, so you can respond to this. We're going to go soon on this. This is a publication of July 25, 2017. A former governor of Osun State, Chief Bisi Akande, has urged the National Assembly to replace the 1999 Constitution with the 1963 Republican Constitution, arguing that the piecemeal amendment of the 1999 Constitution given to the nation by the military will aid the disintegration of Nigeria rather than make it progress.
So look at his approach. Excellent. He urged who? The National Assembly. These guys aren't asking for the National Assembly. That's the point of argument. He does not have confidence in the National Assembly. He made it clear here. He said there's nothing they can do because every amendment they make is to their own interest. He wants us to go out of Section 4 of the Constitution. He does not believe in the legitimacy of the Constitution. He's asking for
he's asking for replacement.
Yeah, but it is still through the National Assembly. You see, all I'm saying here is that even if you want to make a new constitution, assume you want to throw this one through the window and bring a new one, as it stands, it is still the lawmakers.
So, Mr. Anene, is that the missing link for you?
You see, first of all, he was talking about resource control. Before I came to the studio, he was talking expansively on resource control. Now, when I throw the burning issue about resource control, he started being, escapist. No, but that's not the problem. The problem is this: the National Assembly, which he represents, cannot amend our constitution. Now, he talked about recall. Read Section 69. He made the recall process too difficult that nobody can recall any person. We tried it under the Nomela. It didn't work.
How then do we get a new constitution?
How we get a new constitution is Nigerian ethnic groups will come together and agree.
How?
Agree.
There are over 200 and something.
Yes, over 200 and something ethnic groups can come together. You have representatives, elected representatives that represent them to give ourselves 1963 constitution, a federal constitution.
Well, you're a lawyer.
Yes.
What part of the law supports what you're saying?
Thank you.
The part of those that support it. Now, so the preamble to 1999 constitution say we the people. If we the people said no, this constitution we have is not working, let us give to ourselves a brand new constitution that will take care of Nigerians. What is wrong with that? It's still in line with the constitutional provision.
But of course, that same constitution supports a process. What process in that law supports what you're saying?
The agreement I'm talking about. That is the process, because he said we, the Nigerians, haven't agreed to give ourselves.
What legal position, what legal quote are you going to say, okay, this section of the law says we should do this?
I'm talking about the preamble to 1999 constitution, which they're happy on. They said the Nigerians give to ourselves this constitution. We are saying that this constitution should be thrown away and give us a brand new constitution. Now, the recall process is said, why wouldn't I go and recall my representative?
Well,
section 69 makes it difficult. Now, Shemale, let me tell you section 151.
I'm afraid you can't because the law, the time has...
section 150, section 159 and 196.
The time has already been legislated.
We the time now. We can't go further. But we have to thank both of you for coming on this morning. Mr. Anene, legal practitioner, and Daniel Bwala. Yes, he's the SSA to the Deputy Senate President on legal and constitutional matters. He also heads that 1999 Constitution Review Committee. So we'll be looking to see what happens. So if you don't like what and how they're proceeding with some of those processes, he's the person that you have to also perhaps help get to the National Assembly. We're back in a moment. Stay with us.